Well, it is that time again, everybody. Hope you are doing well. My name is BirdDog John, and I am back in action.
In those scenarios, it's good to neuralize the cameras. You guys know that best.
Very straightforward. Plug it in, go to the web UI, link the source, walk away. You know, like super simple. I keep looking over at the chat, and I keep seeing you are full of it. Tasty, spicy meat snacks. Covered in flavor. I mean, you can't go wrong. So what's going on? We've got a handful of folks here in the chat, and I really appreciate that. What's up, mate? Hey, Warren, how are you? Appreciate it. Hey, Robbie, how's it going, man? You're just talking about you. What's going on, Tom? Ahoy. How is it going? What's going on, Go Web? Good to see you again. Thanks for hanging out with us again today. Appreciate that. Feel like I'm in this video more than anyone but John. It's true, NetApp. You are, I'm going to cut this up and put this in the next intro. Hey, what's going on, everybody? The stream is indeed starting. My name is BirdDog John, and hopefully you are doing well. Thanks for stopping by today, hanging out with us one more time. It has been a busy few days, and I will get into those details shortly. But it is a beautiful day here in Auburn Hills. I was going to actually share that with you. Nice sunny skies outside, and yeah, it looks really nice, although it's hard to see through the screen. But that is a PF-120 that's just kind of looking at the post office that's just down the road from us. What I'll do is I will zoom in on that shot, and hopefully we can hear. Let me do my due diligence here. Yeah, okay. So that's working. Hopefully we don't have any issues like the last time. Okay, so we're going to cut over to that shot again. And I'm just going to zoom in and look through. Whoa, that's not good. Something's up with that. Dropping frames on me. We have been shuffling a lot of the network around, and actually lots of stuff going on here just in terms of like logistics and how it's going to work. In particular, my studio is getting a what's the right term? My studio is getting not like updated or changed, but I am actually, so the actual room that I'm in is quite a long room. Like it's basically a double office. And for a long time we had what was lovingly known as the graveyard, which was devices that come to us who are genuinely dead or out of warranty or whatever, and they're just not going to work or be recovered. That we were stacking those in here, and then we'd ship them off to our manufacturers for refit and whatever. Well, anyways, all that storage is being moved to a new space that we have acquired in the building, and so that, as well as one department that I run, that I oversee. I don't run it. Someone else runs it. He is moving downstairs to that new space, and we're kind of like reorging that. But in the meantime, all that stuff that was stacked in here is now gone. So not only have I moved my confidence monitor and my multi-viewer to the other side of the room, which is kind of nice because now the picture is a lot smaller, and I feel like I'm more naturally looking into the lens of this camera. Whereas like where it was, and it will probably be again, was it was closer, and it was still struggling with the eye line thing. So now it looks really good. So we are hanging out here in kind of a very empty office. And what's going to happen is I'm going to move my office into here so that my office and the studio are basically in the same room. And then I'm going to give my office to a guy that's been working in the lobby basically, so that he can actually have a door and he can accept and receive shipments and whatever and have a better workflow for what he wants to do. So he's going to move in there. One of these guys is going to move downstairs. That's going to open up a room for a secondary workspace that we've desperately needed for a very long time. And so, yeah, the pieces are all starting to move. And this room has never been this empty since the day we moved in. So I have revamped a few things. My secondary shot, this one that you can see, looks a fair bit different now than it used to. That's the P200, because that shelving unit that the thing was on is gone. And so it looks a little bit different there. And then I've also got this 100 shot. This 110 shot that hasn't moved because my screen is up here next to it. My secondary or third monitor is up there. And so that 110 is right there. However, there used to be like a bunch of boxes and like a black scrim and stuff that was here, which is now gone. And so it's a lot brighter. So I may need to dial that one down a shade just because it's brighter. I've also moved my hair light to right over top of me, and it's actually hanging off the ceiling. And the tripod that I was using is now not doing anything. So if I cut over, well, you can't see this, but anyways, there's a tripod here that's not doing anything. And it's great because tripods, although they're versatile, they take up a whole lot of space. And so it's nice to kind of have them out of the way, and having less is more. The only one that I do have is a boom mic stand that I have with a, let's put that camera up there so you can see this. This is the 200 again. So that boom mic stand has the Rode NTG2 mounted to it. I don't use this very much. I'm hoping to maybe do like a few more interview styles, which I always threaten to do, and then I never do them. But anyways, the NTG2 would be great for that, but it's a good little shotgun microphone. That's my own personal microphone. And it just hangs out here off the, out of the shot, which I genuinely could now bring like directly over top of me, because the P4K, you can't see it in the P4K shot, right? But the P4K is a lot further away, but it's still framed the same. I just zoomed it in with the beautiful the 20 times optical lens that I've got on it. But then this microphone can genuinely sit like right above me. And although I wear a hat all the time, I still think it would be good. You want to like point it at like your upper chest, and that would have a good, so I could, anyways, we can monkey with that later if we want to find out what that sounds like. But I really like it, and I think it works. I think this is starting to work a whole lot nicer. I'm like tempted to figure out how to position my office desk and things in here. Oh, there's an idea. So that I could continue to have this camera further away, so that like the eyeline sight and whatever continues to look acceptable. So anyways, there we go. That's been the major change here, and there's lots of pieces moving around. Yesterday we were all sweating like crazy because we were hauling stuff up and down stairs and like moving things into the new space. But it's finally gives us a chance to not feel like we're all on top of each other, and it's going to have a nice dedicated space for inspections and repairs and a bunch of other things that have to happen now, because we're growing like crazy again. So at least there's a lot of products coming in, so I hope we're growing like crazy. All right, let's jump over to the chat. Oh, first things first, let's check in on the heat map. Hey, that little QR code that's over there is allows you to drop a pin on the heat map if you want to do that. And so it doesn't ask for your email or anything like that. Just says what country, what city are you closest to? And if you answer those two questions and hit submit, your pin will appear on my heat map. It's always fun to kind of see where people are checking in from. Right now, we're the North American crew, so hopefully we'll have a few others check in soon. What is going on, Angus? Always good to have you. I see that you have already dropped a pin in Edmonton, so you must be in the Great White North. Hey, what's good? Not a whole bunch. I really appreciate you checking in on LinkedIn, although I am not going to attempt your name because I will poorly butcher it, but I'm thrilled that you are here. Thank you for stopping by. No one here but us chickens. What's going on, NetHab? How are you, man? Always nice to have you around. I'm ordering some P240s this week. Awesome. P240s are a blast. They so when P240 launched, the playlist is running. When the P240 launched, I was skeptical. And BirdDog Jake, who we've had on the show a lot, he was like, no, man, it's better than the 200. And I was like, I don't know. 200 is a really versatile camera, and it's my go-to, and I love it dearly. And he's like, trust me, just wait till you see the 240. And it's true. The picture on the 240, I agree, outclasses the P200. And so, yeah, those are great cameras. I'm glad that you've got some on order. Yeah, your eye line looks nice and natural. It's very subtle, but it's a nice change. Hey, I appreciate that. Thank you. I figured it out. I finally figured it out. The teleprompter needs to be huge and all the way across the office, and then it works. And I still have my multi-viewer that's running on a studio machine, which will eventually be in here, but on a machine that's running across the office. And so I have a BirdDog studio that is decoding a multi-viewer pro signal from a Mac studio here in my production studio. How many times can we put that word out there? So all that will be coming in here, as well as my network rack and a bunch of other things that I have in the office. And I'll basically gut that office and bring it all over. And then, but I need to sit down and think about like workflow, because I'm not 100% sure where it's all going to go. So I need to hash that out before I officially move in, but hopefully I'll be able to do that shortly after I return. I will be away, is what I'm trying to say. So I'm going to be out of town next week again. I know I was just away last week. This is what happens with summer vacation hits with the kids and everything. And I direct a camp in Northern Ontario, and so that is where I'm going this time around. So I will be leaving tonight. Oh my gosh, I'm leaving tonight. Anyways, I'm leaving tonight, or technically tomorrow morning, but it'll be like 1 a.m. or 12:30. Leaving tonight and going driving all the way up to Temagami, Ontario. So if you don't know where that is, I'll give you a little frame of reference here. Let's jump over to the interwebs. And where is my mouse? Okay, there we go. Okay, so if I am to drop this on here, and so in Ontario, most of the population of Ontario is in the southern arm of Ontario, right? There's like a little piece that comes down. It's pretty close to the U.S. borders, all the way up to like Toronto and a city called Barrie. Though that's basically considered southern Ontario. It's where the 400 series highways ends. And the whole region is growing like crazy, especially Barrie and some of those regions between Toronto and Barrie, like Vaughan and Vaughan Mills and a few other key cities there. But let me bring this up so that I can kind of demonstrate what it is that we're doing. So Vaughan, Richmond Hill, this is the Toronto area, right? So here's Toronto, and if you need a frame of reference, here's Michigan. And this is really the primary. See, Barrie is right here. This is primarily the majority of like the Ontario population push is found below Barrie. All right. And it goes all the way out here. Now, Ottawa is a pretty big city. I mean, we don't want to negate that, but this is more like Eastern Ontario. And then Montreal is in Quebec. And so the Quebec border is right in here. And then Montreal and Ottawa are like a stone's throw from each other. And then even those, see how they're on the southern border of Quebec, right? So Montreal's right here. Quebec City, which is also a major game player, they're right on the border. And they're on the St. Lawrence, honestly. But anyways, that's kind of how the major cities in Ontario and Quebec have kind of unfolded over time. Well, anyways, the majority of the population is found, not saying it's better, by the way, but the majority of the population in Ontario is found south of Barrie. All right, with the exception of Ottawa. That's a big city, but not like Toronto is a big city. Okay. And also, it is true, by the way, if you pronounce the city Toronto, you're doing it wrong. You don't pronounce the T, you run the N into the O. So it's Toronto. No. Okay, Toronto. If you want to genuinely be taken seriously as somebody speaking in this country. So Toronto's a big one. Mississauga, Hamilton, these are all major cities. Kitchener, Waterloo, Guelph, all of these places are really huge populations. All right. And most of it is due to immigration. I'm getting sidetracked here. Anyways, here's what we're doing. So tonight I will leave the greater Detroit area. You can see I live in this area north of Detroit. And I will travel along Highway 69, Interstate 69, and head into the 402, which is this highway that goes over to London. And then it changes to the 401, and I'll go to Brampton. Brampton is where my folks live, and my brother lives in Brampton. And I'll pick up my dad there, and we'll head towards Barrie, where we will meet up with somebody else. Now, we'll take probably the 400 up to Barrie. And then in Barrie, the highway changes to Highway 11, which is one of the big highways that connects Northern Ontario with the rest of the population. And so in Barrie, we're going to hit up Highway 11 and head towards Huntsville and Powassan and North Bay. And North Bay is kind of on this side of Ontario, is kind of one of the last major cities that have a lot of people, but we're not talking about we're not talking about millions. Okay. Do we have any quick facts about how big North Bay is? North Bay, though, is the last place you're going to find major stores and things like that. Like, I won't say Canadian Tire, but things like Walmarts and grocery stores that are competing with other grocery stores. You know what I mean? Like, it's not the only one in town. So that's North Bay. And then beyond North Bay, then we'll continue up Highway 11. We'll go through Martin River, which is a pretty well-known town in cottage country up there. And then we will turn off of the highway, right where this star is. We're going to turn off the highway, or actually just south of that. We're going to turn off the highway and just south of Temagami. So Temagami is this little town right here. And then Temagami North is actually another district. But here, if maybe I can get it to show up on the map. Now, if you read this, people will say, oh, it's called Temagami. No, it is not. And it is not called Temagami. So do not call it that. And there is a knife that is made that is called the Temagami knife, and it's named after this town. If you Google it, it's on Amazon or whatever. It's like several $100s. It's ridiculous. And it's also endorsed by Les Stroud, if you know who that name is, who is also a predominant Northern Ontario survivor man. So the Temagami knife, if you go on YouTube and you watch reviews of the Temagami knife, you will find the people who are the Americans who don't know how to say the name. Okay, so there you go. Fun fact. Don't screw it up. So Temagami is up here, and this is where we're going to camp, in this region. So this trip will take me about 12 hours. From start to finish, we will be in North Bay by lunchtime tomorrow. And then it will be 2 hours into the bush, and then it will be another 3 hours of work before we're actually set up and eating dinner. So it's going to be quite the haul, but good stuff. And I'm really excited about this. Now, if you have watched Survivor Man, the series, the Discovery Channel, or a handful of others, Les has done an episode in Temagami, and I think it's on Rabbit Lake, which is this giant lake that's in the shape of a Y. He does an episode there where he crashes his airplane and has a broken arm. It's in the middle of winter as well. So that, if you want to like, hey, let's see where John's headed, it's there. It's pretty much there. And I watch his exit. He walks out to Highway 11, and they do a lot of cutscenes, so I don't know, but I don't know if he walks across our lake or not. But he walks out to Highway 11, and then his crew finds him by the highway. So anyways, there you go. That's fun facts. Everything you wanted to know about John's next week. Now, I have several guys in this office that this trip sounds like a nightmare to them. They're not campers. They are what you would say indoorsy. And so, yeah, it's not for everybody. This is going into the bush and sleeping in tents and cooking on Coleman stoves and huddling around a campfire and hoping it doesn't rain and canoeing into your camping location. And you have what you bring. Okay, there's no amenities, there's no buildings, there's no electricity, there's no nothing. So you have what you bring. And of course, I'm a technical nerd, so I'm hauling like batteries and stuff because I've got cameras and I've got video stuff and I'm also leading this crew. So I try and do like social media stuff, which I've done an incredibly poor job of this year, by the way. But I try and do social media stuff. And so I'm taking photos and I'm taking videos and I'm posting things online, not during the trip, but shortly thereafter. So good times and great oldies. So I'm really looking forward to it. I get all jazzed up. This is one of the things that I'm really passionate about. My wife jokes that before the first weekend we had met, she knew that I was involved in Manitou with this trip and knew that I was very passionate about camping. And that has never changed. And we've been married for like 15 years. So I've been there since I was 10, and I'll say I'm well over 20 years going to this camp. So, and I run it now. I'm one of two directors. A good friend of mine, a guy that stood in my wedding, he is the co-director with me, and we shoulder the load together, and we have a good crew of guys that go in that help me with it, and it's great. So good stuff. Where there are no Canadian Tires or Subways around, you know that you're out in the boonies. That's exactly true. Now, there may be a Canadian Tire in Temagami at this point. And, if only we had some sort of search engine that could answer this question. All right, the closest Canadian Tire, let's go back here. The closest Canadian Tire to Temagami is North Bay. And where is this? It's modern. Temiskaming Shores. So yeah, that's not close. That's probably an hour and a half from where I'm going to be. What's crazy about this is I have been going here for over 20 years, and I've never been to Temagami. And that's shocking, but actually kind of good, because Temagami is the closest hospital to us, which means that we have not needed to go to a hospital in 20 plus years since I've started going, because we haven't had injuries like that. And that is like a badge that we wear, and we talk about safety and all that stuff too, but we haven't had to go. But there are usually there's like 20 to 30 guys that go with us. This year we're right around the 20 mark, but yeah, I'm excited. It's going to be a great trip. And that is where I will be next week. So I will post a post-vacation show. I hesitate to call it vacation, mostly because it's like several days of work and driving. And when you see me a week on Tuesday, that's when I'll be back on the show. When you see me again, I will have traveled like 1,500 miles and spent 30 hours in the car, probably, or at least 20 hours in the car, 25 hours in the car, and another 10 hours in canoes and on waterways and kayaking and doing a bunch of stuff. But I do it because I love it. I do it because it's great to remove myself from all of the stuff, all the screens. Literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5 screens or monitors looking at me right now. So I'm going to a place where there isn't one. Let's put it that way. So yeah, it's pretty exciting stuff. I'm really excited to go, and it'll be great. It'll be a great trip. Whoa, look at all you guys checking in. Check this out. There are a ton of you guys hanging out with us today. Thanks so much. And there's 19 people watching right now, or at least 19 devices watching right now. Okay, 18, because I'm monitoring the show from here. But I'm so nervous about the audio thing, and because last time we did this, I screwed up the audio and I was muted for 3 minutes while I was passionately explaining something. And I had egg on my face for several minutes after that. So I am going to wait, what? I'm going to make sure that that doesn't happen again, at least on the vMix side of things. Make sure that you guys can hear me well enough. There we go. Okay, cool. So it's showing, oh, whoops. I need to send audio. Okay. It says that the audio is low, but on my phone, it sounds pretty good. So I don't know what the deal is there. I will try and we'll try and take a bunch of pictures so that I can share with you guys when I get back where we were and what it was that we were up to. But if you are watching and you have a spare device, scan that QR code and I'd be happy to check in with you and you'll show up on my heat map. It's always fun to jump back to the heat map and then see like a whole bunch more. So we'll do that during the show. We're already 25 minutes into it, and I've only talked about my vacations. So yes, the Les Stroud something Temagami. Yes, he does do the shows. He says that Temagami is the region that he learned how to survive. And I think that's so cool because I've been up there for a long time. But my wife has one. What did I say? The knife? She has a Temagami knife? I saw the Survivor Man pilot at the film festival here in Edmonton. Geez, must have been close to 20 years ago. Yeah, and he had to haul around like camcorders and stuff back then. And with like GoPros and the way that cameras, like pocket cameras and stuff are going, he's done some newer episodes with basically like those tiny cameras, and it must be way easier to film these days, right? Because like the battery, like GoPro batteries, you can just pop them in, pop them out. They can even charge with solar panels, so he could just have a small solar panel and like charge up batteries and never have to worry about that. But just take 3 or 4 GoPros and set them up. He still has to do all the walking to and from to do the cut shots and everything. But I think it would be way more focused on surviving than it would be about filming for him if he were to do that now. So I'm a big Les Stroud fan. He's from my region and cut from my cloth. So I appreciate his work, and I genuinely think he tried his hardest to talk about real survival on his show and give examples of how to actually do it. So I was a big Les fan, especially Survivor Man. I thought it was a great show. I don't recall if Les was there too. Oh, that would have been cool if he was around. For fun, he looked a lot differently back then. He was 20 years younger. For fun Edmonton area outdoor content, check out Camping with Steve. A little more casual than Les, but very enjoyable. I will check that out. Thank you. I enjoy that stuff. I think that's a great idea. You mean they are city slickers? Maybe. I refer to them as indoorsy, just because they would prefer to take their vacation and like have time off to like play their favorite video games or something like that. And that's just how people like to spend their time. Totally fine. Or go to a nice hotel for a few days and walk around a city, but then, go and sit down at a restaurant, not have to make your own food. We've had some people that have come to camp who didn't realize that. So there's this balance with this whole thing. They've come to camp and didn't realize that like they were going to have to make their meals. And we've done better about talking about that, evangelizing about that, and being frank with people about what it is that they're going to be required to do while there. But I always hesitate with bringing new people up because I don't want them to be surprised as like, oh, that's what, oh, you meant camping, like I want to be sure that we're absolutely clear about it. So sometimes I go overboard now. And maybe it's good, maybe it's bad, but I definitely go overboard a little bit, hoping that there aren't too many surprises that are making people uncomfortable. So there's that. Okay, a friend on Facebook says, "What about your next show from the bush?" I don't think my data plan would support that. I do have coverage in Canada, so if someone's hair is on fire here in the US, I can be reached, although I usually power off my phone and only use it to capture like 360 videos and stuff that I do with my Insta360 Evo, which is a discontinued camera. I'm in the market for saving my pennies to buy the 1-inch Insta360 camera, which is beautiful in low light, which would be absolutely stellar up at Manitou, but it's way too much money for me right now. So I'll have to save my pennies. But I will take the Insta360 Evo and do some 360 videos for my kids and for my own headset. And I love having like the walkthrough of camp. Years ago, a friend of mine walked through camp with his phone and took a video and then uploaded it to the Facebook page later on. And that was cool, but that was like 2003 or something like that. Or it was a point and shoot camera. The next time I took a GoPro and I did like an update, and people were like, wow, it's so cool. And that was probably 10 years later. So cool to see like camp and to revisit. And these are previous campers. And every 5 years or so, I do that. And so now I have the ability to do a 360 video and walk people through camp, and show all of it and let them like kind of experience camp as I walk through it. So even cooler. So I'm definitely going to do that this year. I just got to find a nice sunny afternoon to do that and make that happen. So Albert says, try to pronounce, oh my gosh, in Nolans. I cannot, holy smokes. There are a lot of letters that don't belong together in that word. Yikes, man. Maybe we can have Google Translate let us know how that's supposed to be said. Hey, I'll be right back. Okay, no problem, Angus. We'll be here. Hey, it sounds good on YouTube. Excellent. Glad to hear it. All right, I'm back. Hey, I used to work for a company Les bought his DV tapes from. He bought large quantities. I'm sure he did. When you say large, like, can you give me a rough estimate as to how many he would purchase at a time? Hello, John. Is there a possibility in Cam Control to have a home position for auto tracking if it loses the person? So the way that I've done this in live production, great question, by the way. The way that I've done this in live production is to set preset 1 as your home position. And so the way that you think about having auto tracking on cameras is that the auto tracking is the primary function. And if you lose home position, you hit preset 1 and it goes back to wherever home is. And I have found that when I do this, so I have 2 or 3 cameras that are auto tracking, right? One of them goes astray. And so I want to get that one back to home position so that when the subject walks back into the frame, Cam Control will pick up and lock onto that, the facial recognition or the body recognition. So ideally what you would do is you would set it to a place where your keynote or your lecture or whatever is going to walk back into the frame regularly. Now, this is different if you're doing sports or you're doing something like that. You're going to need to have a home position that's like center court or something like that. But the way that I get around, so my experience with this is filming keynotes and ministers that are on stages, and I set it at the pulpit essentially, or the lectern, and then if the subject moves out of the frame or the camera wanders off, I can turn off auto tracking, hit preset 1, goes back to that position. I turn on auto tracking, which typically restarts that function because it may not be the camera. It may be Cam Control, like the algorithm not working correctly. So then when the subject comes back in, it'll lock on their face again or their body, depending on how you have that worked out or what settings you have. And then you're off to the races again. But I have found it very difficult to use that workflow when I only have one camera running in Cam Control, right? So you kind of need like an establishing shot then, if that's the case. And you use the single camera as the follow camera at all times, but then you have an establishing shot if something were to go wrong. But your primary camera, the only camera you have that's functioning in Cam Control, is primarily on the subject. And if it wanders off, you switch to an establishing shot. No, kind of like this one, actually. You switch to an establishing shot, and then you go back to home position. If you're really slick, you could set up a signaling system, like in ProPresenter or something like that, that you could indicate on a stage display, please return to the home position briefly, so that that you could portray that message, like slowly go back to home position so that we can reacquire on cameras. You can communicate that And you can automate the crap out of that, by the way. But if you're really slick with it, you would do that and be able to communicate back and forth with the talent on stage. And if they're confident in what they're presenting, then they wouldn't skip a beat. They would just read that, or like, return home, and then the camera could reacquire. And as they're walking back into the frame, you could then transition back to that single camera shot. The camera would lock on and off you go. So that's the way it's mapped out in my brain. I have done that in real life. It does work. It does take, it requires you to think about single man production differently. Okay. Because when we're doing multi-camera or single camera with PTZ, we're doing a production that way, and we're controlling it like with a joystick or with left-right commands or whatever. That's one way of thinking about it. If you move to an automated cam control auto tracking setup, you're not dealing with the directional left-right anymore. You're dealing with what might go wrong with this shot. And so you're managing 2 or 3, hopefully like 3 angles in cam control that are all tracking the subject. And if something goes wrong with one of them, you know how to get away and get to something else, or get to your establishing shot or whatever. I tell you what, though, if you get comfortable using auto tracking, it is so much better than sending left-right commands on a Stream Deck. It looks way more natural, especially if you can finesse. So you like 2 cameras, right? You have a close like bus shot like this, and then you have like an establishing shot. That's, bus shot like this, and then an establishing shot that might be a little bit different. I'm sorry, this is not the shot I thought it was, and I'm not even looking at vMix. This shot is further away, right? So it's an establishing shot. So this one would be like you're communicating directly with the audience at home or whatever. Man, this is quite the rant. I'm sure that you did not expect this to go this far. But if you get comfortable with the cam control auto tracking stuff, it is a new level of options, and you can do a lot of complexity with being a one-man band, which I love about cam control. And the latest iteration of it, I think, is the most stable one we've produced. It's not perfect, but neither are the other options where the auto tracking is on camera. It's the same algorithm. It's just on board. We have been toying with that idea, and we know that like PTZ Optics came out with an onboard auto tracking where you can turn it on the camera and the camera does it. That's fine. It means you don't need a piece of software to run it. It runs on board. It would be great if we could figure that out for ourselves, because I think that's less is more in this instance. But it's nice to have a centralized location where you can turn on and off the function all in a single window. I think that has some value as well. So there you go. If you get 2 or 3 cameras in auto tracking and you figure out how to do it, and your subject is animated on stage, it's a new level of it's a new level of complexity that you can pull off with one man, and it's or one person running the show. So yeah, get comfortable with it before you go straight up live, but it's really cool if you can get that to happen, because it makes things a lot more interesting to watch. I actually think, well, anyways, no, I'm not going to go down there. I'll leave that. I'll leave that alone for now. I was also 20 years younger. Yes, we all were. It's not called Detroit Motor City for nothing. If I could play baseball indoors, I would. I don't work in the Ontario stores. I didn't work in the Ontario stores, but I seem to recall the folks there saying that he'd buy the Sony DV tapes by the full case. So a box of 5 tapes, I'm pretty sure that it was 20 boxes to a case. Oh my word. Could you imagine like putting that in a secondary backpack and haul? Like, he wouldn't take a bunch of clothes and stuff, right? Like, the point was he's abandoned in the woods and he's surviving. So he doesn't need that, but he still has a full pack, and it's loaded with batteries and cameras and equipment and all this stuff. Plus, in colder climates, he'd have to worry about the batteries being too cold to function, which is a real deal. They can either be too hot or too cold, and you have to balance those out in order for him to even make the thing that he's trying to do while he's out there. So there's like all these layers of complexity. And when you like step back and you realize what he's actually doing and how natural he's making it look, hey, kudos to my Canadian Les Stroud. He's one of the best, man. One of the best wilderness videographers and Survivor Man style shows of all time. I said it. There, I said it. Abandoning all the trappings of civilization, just me and my DV tapes. Man, it's not for the speed of which I'm about to embark is not for everyone. I promise you that. However, once you get there and you set it up and you take a step back and you take a moment to really notice the immenseness and the details and kind of the wonders that are in the world around us just naturally, that's a revitalization that I cannot find anywhere else. I don't know where else to find it. And so this trip, it's expensive and it takes forever, and I lose a whole night's worth of sleep over it, and I stink when I come home, and I am exhausted, and yeah, it's worth it. I'll do it every time I'm able to go. I'll go. So a backpack full of MPF 970s. Man, some of the cameras that he set up out there, I was like, why? Why would you take that? But I think it was him trying to make a profit on what Discovery Channel was offering him at the time. But yeah, the even the cutting of that show is really good, which means that you have to have a ton of B-roll in order to cut that well. And that's a great example of a one-man band, a guy knowing his stuff, knowing his equipment, knowing his limitations, and making something great, like that is something that us video guys can aspire. If you could pull something relatively close to that off on your own, no, it doesn't even have to be in the woods. It could just be something that you do in an afternoon. But yeah, if you could somehow pull that off, that would be a great benchmark to swing for. Hey, from the Pink Theater in Vancouver Island. Oh, I know who this is. Hey, summer camera maintenance coming. Do we have software to help with updates yet? You're referring to Fleet Manager. And unfortunately, no, we do not have software to help with updates yet. So it is still a onesie twosie. It's still going to be an individual camera update as of right now. I don't know when that is. Man, this thing's right in the middle of this camera shot, isn't it? Let's try this. So this camera doesn't really matter too much. It's this one that wait, what? I moved it and it made it worse. Like this? Maybe like this. Okay, like that. And then what does this shot look like? Oh, not as good. So can we compromise in the middle? Yeah. Hey. All right, cool. So yes, it is a little more maintenance than you probably hope for. And I'm sorry that there's a delay on the deliverables of that. They genuinely want to get it right. We've paid dearly in the past for launching things that were not fully functional, and we are a little gun shy. I'll put it that way. So we want this to be done correctly. And before we say it's fully functional, there may be a beta release that works for the converter line, like the 4K family line. But yeah, they're not launching it yet. So I don't know. I would say that I hope to have some sort of update tonight, but again, I'm going to be gone for a week, so let's not do that. Yeah, let's not promise anything. I think all of the shots where Les walks off into the distance. Think of all the shots where Les walks off in the distance. Yes, this is the reference I was implying. Every one of those, he'd have to set it up, walk away, come all the way back for the camera. Yeah, you couldn't just like abandon the camera, right? Some of those were really wide shots, and he would like show himself walking up a hill and like do like not stop motion, but do like cut scenes where it was the same hill, and then he'd like appear, and then he'd like show him like going over the hill. He had to go back for that camera, right? His crew wasn't with him. He didn't have a crew. He had to go back and get it. So yeah, that show is so stinking impressive. And then there's that whole like educational factor that he actually produces something worth watching for those of us who like are interested in camping. He'd actually do something worthwhile, which again, another level of complexity that I just admire to no end. So, oh, that's weird. I got like a, ow. What's that all about? Anyway, whatevs. Yeah, so those were some pretty wide shots. That's okay. More maintenance hours for me. I have 11 cameras now. You may consider, getting them all together and lining them up on the bench if you have to do USB updates. I don't know which cameras specifically you have, but yeah, the 11 cameras is a lot. So that might be a book a day and work through it slowly. Be really careful about which firmwares you put on which cameras. Now, the latest NDI5 ones is nice because it's more unified in terms of the actual firmware, but the baseboard, be really careful with the baseboard. Yeah, do your due diligence, as I know you will, and you'll be fine. Not to worry. Hey, wow, I made it to the end of the chat, unbelievably, before the end of the hour. Somebody mentioned, I won't get into the details of this, but somebody mentioned their displeasure that I had time to eat snacks on stream, but not time to provide the exact type of support that they wanted. And the first thing that I thought of was, man, I haven't done snacks on stream in a long time. I'm thinking about changing that segment in my show to be called "Watch John Eat His Lunch" while talking about live support for free. Maybe I should pitch it that way. So John eats lunch. John eats lunch live on stream while answering NDI questions for free at no cost. How about that? Does that feel better? I just thought it was funny because I haven't done snacks on stream in a really long time, so I don't know. It's at least been 2 or 3 weeks since we've had any sort of snack on stream. But I am drinking coffee today, which is an important reason why I am awake, because I was awake 12 hours ago, packing up for this trip that I'm talking about and going into the night trying to find all my stuff, because I'm not as organized as I appear to be, whatever that means. And all my camping gear was kind of all over the place. So I had to get things together and think it through logically, and we're in good shape now. So ready for the trip for the most part. And good stuff. Good stuff. Was the person complaining about that signing your paychecks? No, not at all. It was just somebody that was hoping that we would be able to have more than just an email ticketing system at current day. So, however, because that we primarily use the email ticket, and I'll reiterate this again as to like our support philosophy, because I do want to reiterate this. I don't have endless resources, and I realize that it might seem simple to just do this one time for somebody, and to provide, a chat support or a phone support or a whatever, or like come out to the site real quick and, I'm not expecting this all the time, just this one time. Well, I have to think about the big picture items on that and how that looks company going forward, because I definitely have limited resources. They are not unlimited. And I have to say yes to some things and no to some other things. And that makes me a bad guy often, just because I have to stand up for the things that we're able to do, and I have to kind of deny the things that we're not able to sustainably do long term. So we offer primarily a ticketing system, and we have invested in 3 ticketing agents to be at the desk every day, 5 days a week, and to learn the product line, to be experts in the majority of the products that we have, to provide more than just generic copy and pasted answers. Have you tried turning it off and on again? We don't do that. Okay. So many of you have submitted tickets. You know the names Clay, Jess, and Christian. You may also know the other team members, because they communicate through tickets as well. But like, that is where the majority of our work is done. And we can promise turnaround and guarantees on that ticketing system. I also then have, for many years, have provided at least an hour of live support twice a week on Tuesday, Thursdays from 11 to 12 Eastern time. And that's not a convenient time for everyone around the world. I do understand that. But I do offer a live chat where you can ask your questions, NDI related or not, and I will do my best to entertain as many of them as possible. Plus, I will tell you what is going on in the support office. I'll keep you up to date as to what it is, if we have any sort of hiccups or delays or whatever. Plus, this is also a great place to find out like tutorials and how to use products. And if you come to me and you say, I don't know how to use cam control, well, guess what? I can fire up cam control on this machine and show you how to use it and give you a rundown and answer your questions all in real time. So that is the purpose of this. It's the opportunity for you to talk to the head of support, the guy where the buck stops with me, okay? And you can chat with me about your tickets. You can chat with me about your questions and that sort of thing. That is an avenue that we specifically cut out time to spend to provide a different level of support. And it's very candid. I'm not reading this off of a teleprompter. Oh, well, I'm not reading it. I am on a teleprompter, but I'm not reading it. This isn't a script, okay? Like this is me. And it's my department. It's my support team. These are my people. And so I have to protect them a little bit and make sure that they stay focused and on task so that we can deliver on the guarantees that we give our customers. But it also means that I do know that people prefer other styles of support. They would rather us have a 24-hour phone number, or they would rather us have a chat, a way for you to chat with us, or they'd rather have a chat bot or whatever. We are exploring avenues that we can sustain, but as it is right now, the ticketing system is the primary number one way that you get support. And if you despise emails or submitting tickets, you have a bad taste in your mouth from other crappy companies that have done it poorly, give me a chance. Okay. Give my team a chance. I promise you that we will do our absolute best to at least get you answers. Now, the other piece is, can't necessarily promise you I'm going to give you the answer you want to hear, but I will get you an answer. And within a relatively reasonable time of submitting your ticket, you'll have a response from a real person, from Clay, from Jessica, or from Christian. And so they are three of the best ticketing agents I have ever worked with, I have ever known. We've had some stellar ones here at BirdDog, and they have gone on to do great things. But the three that I have right now are aces. They are professionals, and they will help you out. And so give us a chance. I promise, give us a chance. And good things can come of that. So hopefully that is a word of encouragement about the style in which that we focus on and where we put our resources and our time and our efforts and our money. We're focusing on making that seamless and faster and better for everyone involved. What PoE switch would you recommend for the P240s? Still the Netgear 4250s? I mean, is money no object? I like the 4250s. I like the new 4350s, the commercial grade. That looks fancy because they're all 10 gig backbone. But yes, I stand behind the Netgear ones. Those are the ones that we run here in this office for the majority. That is the AV line that supports NDI, and that's why I can get behind it, because they say, hey, if it's not working, email us at proavdesign@netgear.com. And there are knowledgeable people at that support system who can help you with that NDI. So when you buy a expensive AV switch, you're getting support with it as well. Okay. They're happy they've always answered my emails. I've heard good things from other people in the industry. That email works well. So if you buy an AV line Netgear 4250 switch, it comes with that email address. And if you have questions or problems, you can grab their attention. We also know those switches. And so when we talk about troubleshooting, or if it goes a lot faster if you have a switch that we're really familiar with. And the 4250 is exactly that product line. So yes, I do still recommend that for the 240s. Now, I have a new issue with the single 240. The NDI PoE port is not accepting PoE. Any thoughts? That PoE port has been verified to be working, and on the switch itself. That's interesting. If it's not accepting PoE, but it still works on DC, then we've got an issue with the power supply on the camera itself. Be sure that your switch is delivering 30 watts and not learning that it only needs 14 watts to run in idle. That can be an issue, and you'll need to force like a legacy mode on that PoE port to verify that that's working. So if it's a 4250, you can go into the PoE option on the switch, change the detection type to legacy, and then power cycle the camera and see if it comes up. But that's an interesting idea. If not, help at birddog.tv, and those guys have seen some of those already, and so they might be able to at least coordinate getting it tested for you or getting it in for inspection, depending on where you are in the world. JB Tech. 24-hour phone number would be cost prohibitive to staff. Yes. Yes. A 24-hour phone number would be a different style of support. I'll put it that way. I'm not saying it can't be done. I don't think that's really what you want, because I think that what would happen is that it would not, well, anyways, we have found phone support not to be terribly effective in getting customers answers. It's very effective in customer relations. It's not great with actually customer support, but we make exceptions for certain people and circumstances and what have you. I'm not opposed to making phone calls and that sort of thing, but I don't find, unless it's just general NDI questions people have, like needing to be educated, I don't find actually troubleshooting cameras over the phone is a terribly effective method. I actually find setting up a remote session and remoting in and seeing what they're doing and seeing what they're seeing is a much faster way of getting information and to a resolution, whether or not we need to inspect it or repair it or replace it or whatever. Requesting a remote session through the help desk, which I have 3 agents that do those all the time. Not to say that they live for it, but they're very effective at it, and it's a fast way to diagnose things. That's a much better method. And we can coordinate with you when you're going out to the site. So, hey, I'm going out to the site. I know I have a problem with the camera. Can we arrange an hour where I could have an agent remote into the system and take a look? Yeah, because we can get all the answers we need. At least we can get a lot more than asking you over the phone to check this and check that and try this and do that. And like, it takes forever. So it's very efficient to do a remote session. Oh, and by the way, we can provide those globally, but I can't provide a global phone number. So there you go. For many years, I was a part of a support team that offered 24-hour support to broadcasters at a price. Yep, that theory has been discussed at great length. Maybe it's a paid-for service. And if they want a red phone or something like that, then like a bat phone, then that comes with a significant price tag to enable us to have somebody on staff that can do that and provide that service. But if you've noticed, our prices are very competitive for our products. And so our margin is not huge. And that means that we need to pick and choose wisely what resources we use. And, if we need to allocate, if we want to shut down the ticketing stuff and try a different method, I'm all about that conversation. But I don't think that people would be happy if what I have to push back against, and this is more of support philosophy, is people would like us to offer everything for the price of the one thing that we do, right? And that is not sustainable. I mean, we'll want to, it will just become way too many things to juggle, and that's not good for you as a customer, and it's not good for the mentality of my employees as well. So we got to be careful. The support team are awesome. Oh, thanks, Phil. What's going on, man? I'm glad you think so. We try. We definitely are trying. There's a reasonable budget. I still would. I mean, if there is a reasonable budget, then the 4250 is probably what I would recommend. Depends on what you need. It depends on your network design and what you already have or don't have established. But the 4250 line is a layer 3, which means that you can set up your complete NDI network on that single switch if you want, and it can govern other 4250 switches as you expand. So I would do that and look at that as your primary NDI AV switch to go right now. I know that there are a couple other AV switches out there. I just haven't had any time, or nobody's offered to send me one to qualify it. So the 4250 is the one. We got several in the office. I mean, more than a half a dozen, put it that way. I've had to use Netgear support. It's great folks. Agreed. Actually, I'm in lockstep with that statement. When selling a $50,000 device, it makes some sense to spend $2,000 a year for guaranteed access to support. If you don't offer it, it's an opportunity for your sellers to add value. I agree. We're in this weird place in the NDI world because NDI has been around for a while now. And now it's, if you're a reseller of NDI, but you've been playing this game for 2 or 3 years and you're not comfortable with the NDI protocol, there's a gap there. I think that if you're not comfortable with just troubleshooting the basics of NDI and understanding like the differences between a static configuration and a DHCP configuration, if you're a sales guy and you don't know what that is, the protocol's been around long enough that information is available. And so that is more of a professional development thing where you may need to look into taking the New Tech University course, for example, or BirdDog's going to come out with some educational stuff that I have a hand in. You can join me here on the show and ask questions, just gaining knowledge to understanding and helping customers achieve what it is that they're trying to do with NDI. But there's this weird assumption that AV is AV, and so there are no variants in network requirements, and that is false. There's absolutely a Dante network is not the same as a SMPTE 2110 network. So I don't know why people think an NDI network is the same as a Dante network. That's not true. And we need to stop telling customers that and start saying, no, there are better ways of designing your network, and that's okay. You'll get great performance out of it. And you should understand the differences and the trade-offs. What do you lose when you do a static configuration over DHCP? Because you do lose something, okay? But it's not a great selling point. I understand that. So it would be better if resellers took time to invest in themselves and learning the protocol so that they can build better and robust systems for their customers. That would be ideal. And we're going to try and produce some of that content so that it's more readily available for people to use. So it is a 4250. I'll check the legacy PoE mode. We tried different cables and ports. I'll reach out to help after the show. Thanks. Sounds good. That would be the correct way to assess that. I've used your support and Netgear support, and both have been great experiences. Thank you, Albert. Thank you for saying that. Shout out to the support agents in the BirdDog office and the support agents over at Netgear. Hey, at least the 2110 and Dante now work across each other. Hey, there you go. We've been working with Netgear for quite a while, but also Netgear has been going on their own to work with NDI and some other key players in the NDI market to make sure that Dante and NDI work on the same profile. I'm not sure how they achieve this level of sorcery, but the NDI 5 profile on the 4250s does profess that they do work together. So way to go. Way to go, Netgear. That's a feat and an investment that I don't see commonly done in the industry. So yeah, cool stuff. All right, let's take a quick little look at the heat map, see where you guys are checking out. Now, if you're new to the show, the heat map is a place where you can scan that little QR code and answer 2 simple questions. What country and what city are you closest to? And it will drop a pin at that location. Now, remember, if I put in Auburn Hills or Detroit, it's going to be in the same location. So we're not looking for specificity. We're looking for, give me a general idea. So if you don't want to share with me your city or local town or whatever, just the closest major city is totally fine. And it'll drop a pin on the map. We got people all over Europe. My friend in South Africa is checking in here with us today. And then a lot of you guys are over in North America. So that's really cool. I know that Angus is up there in Edmonton. So feel free to scan that little QR code with your phone. Go to that website. It's just a Google form. And it asks you 2 questions. I don't know I don't collect any email data or anything like that. Even I think it says it on the form. Your email is not being collected. And yeah, when you scan it and you answer those questions, it should be pretty quick. So somebody just checked in and that pin appeared pretty much right away. So there's very little delay. And I like to do this. I like to show who's who. We're going to go for another 15, 20 minutes, at least give you guys a chance to hang out a little bit longer. I cut off Thursday or Tuesday's show right at basically an hour. But today we're going to take a little breather before I step away again for another week. So the next show, I should say this out loud. So the next show that we will be doing is on the 15th. Okay. And after this one, I'll go into StreamYard and I'll post that as John returns from vacation again. And come and find out how the vacation worked and all the things that came of that. And yeah, we will plan to spend some time again on that on the 15th. So we'll take a hiatus next week, Tuesday, Thursday, and then we'll be back on the 15th and 17th to for you to grace our presence here on the live stream. I'm thrilled that you guys have joined us and that you're still sticking around. It's always fun to make friends in the industry. I would say get to know faces, but I only can see your profile pictures. So it's not quite the same, but hey, it's all good. I really value this time with you guys, and I hope that comes across. And ask me your NDI questions. You don't want to submit a ticket? Here's your chance. Here's a live support person who is willing to answer and talk about NDI and think through what might be going on. Had a question about a P240 misbehaving on PoE. That might be a switch issue. That might be a camera issue. And so if it is, then if he finds out it is still misbehaving after the show, reach out to help@birddog.tv, and my well-qualified agents will be able to assist. So really cool, good stuff that's happening here. I'll put this up here just so that people know the address. There is also, I know that people really like Twitter, which is now known as X. What's up with that? Anyways, name change. So if you remember the platform formerly known as Twitter, we actually have a support Twitter account. So if you'd rather just tweet at us what the issue is, or you want to send us a message on there at help_BirdDogTV, that is the help desk, and it feeds our ticketing system, and we can tweet back to you directly through our system. So some people think Twitter's easier. Go for it. Hit us up. Let us know what's going on. If you just want to see, hey, does this thing work or is this thing on? Shoot us a message over at help_BirdDogTV on Twitter, on the platform formerly known as Twitter. And I should totally change this. Support on platform formerly known as Twitter. Okay. So so hit us up over there on that new platform, and we'd be happy to chat with you through there. And we can, if you just tweet at us, we'll tweet back at you, and our recommendations will go in there, and then we can convert that into, if you need to take it offline or need to be a longer form, we can send you a DM with a much longer knowledge database article or something like that, or instructions, whatever. So if Twitter's easier for you, or the platform formerly known as Twitter, if that's easier for you, by all means, at help@BirdDog or at help_BirdDogTV. That will directly feed into my support system and my agents. There are agents standing by to answer your queries. So there you go. Nope. After years of using Twitter, I left the platform last year. Twitter is a dumpster fire. I have heard various things. Hey, what's going on, GoWeb? Nice to see you. Thanks for jumping in. I've heard varying things. I've heard some people love the last year and the changes that have happened on Twitter, and some people really despise it. And so it doesn't seem to be too many people that are indifferent. But I do know that Threads took off. They had like an unbelievable amount of people join, and they're having trouble getting people to use it. So only time will tell. But oh well, whatever. Good times, great oldies, everybody. I'm glad that you are well, then the alternative then, I guess, is to hit us up at help@birddog.tv, because if you don't want to use the what you lovingly referred to as a dumpster fire, you can definitely check in with us here, and we can give you a hand as needed. So email is a poor form of communication, but it is highly effective. And so that is why we handle that. Any update on Fleet Manager release date? We did talk about this briefly, but basically, no, there is no major announcement for Fleet Manager. I know that they're working on, I think, what's going to be a beta, which will work for the 4K converters, because we're trying to get NDI 5 for converters and everything working. So there's some roadmap stuff that's happening there, but we really want to get it to a place where we're confident and stable and whatever. So no official launch of the full version of Fleet Manager. There hasn't been an announcement on that yet from HR or from, I guess, marketing, really. But yeah, more on that hopefully soon. I am indifferent about Twitter. I don't even have an account. I hesitated to get an account with Twitter mostly because it doesn't seem like it's a loving environment. It doesn't seem like people go there to be encouraged. It seems like the worst parts of people, the worst things about people come out on Twitter, and that's unfortunate. Email is splendid at conveying detail. I would agree. We can type as much as we need to help you out or get back to you. And sometimes people like to type as much as they need to get it out there, to express what it is that they need to express. I will say, details are great in terms of like, here's what I've tried, here are the symptoms. It's okay if you want to portray like how frustrated you're feeling too, but my agents will try to cut to the chase and get you some answers. And so it's not a great email's not a great place to get the warm fuzzies, but it is a great place to get some answers. So if you'd like to find out how to get your products working correctly or fixed or updated or whatever, like I said, I got some great ticketing agents that work in this office, and they're some of the best. And so give them a chance. In earlier times, Twitter was a very good environment. Agreed. It seems to have like gone sideways over the years. I had an account years and years ago back in college, and I'm back on there mostly for the function of the support department. But that's about it. I prefer agents to read me a 256-bit randomized alphanumeric string over the phone, right? I'm so glad you say it that way, because it's really, it's a great way to, everybody's different. Look, some people really just need to talk to somebody to make them assured that they're not that the problem they're seeing is not like, they're not crazy. Okay. I get that. I totally do. Hey, it would be great if somebody could just talk me through this. I'm feeling frustrated. I don't want to be frustrated. I want to believe in the product. I do understand that. When there are like hundreds of requests coming in, it's really hard to do that effectively and not lose somebody in the weeds. And so the ticketing system is set up in a way where the only way that things get archived and closed is if the customer stops responding to us at all. But the ticket is, if you send us a message, there is no automation in my system that closes a ticket without us replying to it. We have to reply to it in order for it to go into that status. And so if you send us a message, it opens, and it's open in someone's inbox, and we try and get back to everybody as much as we can. And so Senseless is the guy, that's his handle, by the way. Senseless is the guy that's kind of in charge of that team, and he does a great job in making sure that things are buttoned up. And he's even gone one step further as to, like, if we've got things that are waiting for engineering responses or tickets are on hold or whatever, he's gotten systems in places where even that is more effective. And so we're sharpening that blade every day we come in here. Okay, we're trying to make that edge just a little better every time, and capitalizing on the talents of the ticketing agents that we have. So there's a huge orchestration going on behind there, and trying to make it as effective as we can so that, people have great experiences. So there you go. Venting at support staff is not a good idea. Well, I don't know. It's okay if you want to vent. It is a challenging job. Like when I hire people, I tell them, look, this isn't a place where you're going to be patted on the back every day. People are frustrated. They come to us with challenges, or they come to us with, they thought it did this and it doesn't appear to be doing that, or whatever. Like, people are going to be frustrated, and you can't be seeking your validation as a human being in the tickets that are being opened, because those are the challenges that are coming in. But my mentality is, you're being hired onto my team, and we will carry each other, and we will help each other out and that sort of thing. It is wonderful, by the way, although rare, if somebody says something complimentary. It is not the compliment desk, it's the help desk. And that's my phrase all the time. But if you've had a good experience, say, hey, this ticket is resolved. Thanks so much. I really appreciate you guys, going above and beyond, or I appreciate you getting back to me, or whatever. That little thing, seriously, you can turn an agent's day around by just saying something nice. And so I will encourage you to do that. And I encourage my agents to be professional and to help people, obviously feel heard and valued and all that. But if you need to vent, it's okay. but my agents are going to try and cut through as much of that as possible to find out what the heart of the problem is and to get you resolved. Because if you can be resolved quickly, that's ideal. And that means that you can go on and have the experience that you were hoping for with the product that you purchased. But there's a balance there. And that is not, and again, if everybody vents and they're doing 30, 40, 50 tickets a day, that does get a little heavy. So we'll continue to move forward, sharpen that blade, make it the best experience we can. But yeah, if you wanted to brighten somebody's day, sending a compliment to the help desk is probably one of the best ways you can do that. Just putting it out there. All right, it is 12:15. Let's take a little gander over at the heat map, see what you guys are doing. This is just a result of people scanning the QR code, filling out a 2-question Google form, and it drops a pin on the heat map, which is really cool. So we can kind of see where everybody is and get an idea as to maybe where you are. Now, I like this pin idea, although I think these dots are a little big. I like this pin idea. There is another style of chart that we could use, which would basically, the more people that check in the country, the greener the country becomes. Okay, so if it's just one of you, your country would be listed as red. So in this case, this instance, Canada would be listed as red because Angus is the only one that's checked in, and the states would be green because they have the most check-ins. But that doesn't really give us an idea as to where in the world you're checking in. It just would say like all of the United States. Well, we know that people are watching in the US. I'd like to know a little bit more about where they're watching. Now, as I've noticed over the past several shows that we've done this, it's pretty obvious we have this big vacancy in the middle of the country. You know, like there's some people in California and there's some people in Texas and then along the East Coast. But right in the bulk of the middle, like Chicago and Wisconsin and, even in Seattle and whatever, like we're missing a whole bunch. We don't have anybody in Idaho checking in. So we maybe we can do a different push for people to check in. But hey, a very coastal map of the US. Yes, it is a very coastal map. I guess maybe that's where the population is. Maybe that's where people have the luxury to check in on a show like this and spend their life watching me talk about NDI and support theology and camping trips and all that good stuff. Send Tiff's treats. Tiff's treats. I'm missing something, but anyways, sending treats is always admired. Any form of treat. But we could definitely do with more of that. Anyway, so there's the heat map. That's always cool. Let's go for another 10 minutes and we will wrap it up. Hopefully, one of the hopes that I have with this show is that I hope you feel like as you have been connected with BirdDog, whether you own products or not, that our actual culture in the company is not some sort of like corporatized, unapproachable type of company. What I'm hoping for is that through shows like this and during our trade shows and whatever, we come across as people you can approach and talk to and ask questions, ask difficult ones if you need to about, hey, I need it to do this, or I want to do this, or what do you think about this? And I'll give my opinion on that stuff. But the beautiful thing is that there are a lot of resourceful and competent and knowledgeable people in the chat who can give their opinion as well. And our opinions regularly differ as to how it is that we should accomplish a goal. But I love talking about workflow stuff. I love talking about how to use cam control as a one-man band to provide a dynamic and interesting production for your show. Now, I don't do any walking in this office. Maybe I could. Maybe I could change the format so where a cam control follows me around on 3 cameras and I can pace back and forth. That won't induce any anxiety. So I love talking about workflow. I love talking about production stuff. I'm happy to talk about what my rig is and what my setup is. We've done different microphone checks, like we've done this where I try and do the show on this NTG2 opposed to the RE20 EV microphone. And that's been an interesting experiment to kind of show you here are varying options for audio. And, I've got a P4K in here just because it's a support one. It's got some damaged ports on the back, so we don't want to send it out to anybody. But like the image is amazing. So if you were like, hey, I want to see what this show looks like on a P4K, well, here you go. That's what a P4K looks like. If you say, hey, I want to see what a P200 looks like, boom, that's a P200 right there. And of course, I got my 110. Let me jump over to this computer. If you say, hey, I really like those new P110s, what does the detail level look on that? Like, well, here you go. Here's a 110 or a 120, same sensor, right? And that's what it looks like. That's what the camera looks like in compared to these other cameras that are around my office. So there's a 200, there's a P110, here is the P4K. They handle light a little bit, differently because the sensor sizes are different. But I can show you that. And I hope that when you come here, you feel like this is a place where you can ask that stuff and totally fine. And, we're all here to learn and we're all here to chat about it. So it's all good. But definitely hope that you feel like this show is valuable, even if you can only stay for a few minutes. Come and hang out with us. Can we send treats to the BirdDog office to share among the staff? Absolutely, you can do that. 100% you can do that. Do I have I should create the address here. So yeah, wow, I just had my brain, just all the numbers for the address are in my head, but they're not. Anyways, I know the rest of it. There it is, 2901. We are 2901 Auburn Road, and then we are Suite 700. And people have done this for us in the past, by the way, and very, very grateful for that. But yeah, our actual shipping address is here. You just, if you're sending snacks on stream or things like that, maybe put that in the title or put that on like you can say BirdDog Australia and put, snacks on stream or, for the BirdDog office or whatever you'd like to do. If you are so inclined, by all means, that would be great. We'd love to have something, but we're in Auburn Hills, Michigan, and that is our shipping address. We do have a shipping and receiving guy that handles all of that. So indicate on the box somehow or in the shipping label that that's what it's for. And I'll let you know when it arrives, that's for sure. But we used to, so the way that this started, right? I did snacks on stream and I started doing spicy things. I was like eating chips and like doing a bunch of stuff, and that was fine. And then somebody was like, well, let's see. John said he likes hot stuff, so let's send him some spicy Korean ramen. And then we worked through like 12 different flavors of spicy Korean ramen, and I gave my dissertation on each of them as to whether I would eat it again or not. And I really do like the black bean version of that one, and I do like the cheese versions of those ones. And I actually really like the original single spicy. The 2-time spicy is a part of the Snacks on Stream bumper video. And yeah, that is the one where I can barely stand it. And I believe that time, so I did single spicy and then I did double spicy. And that double spicy, I didn't get through the whole pack. So it might be time for me to revisit the 2-time spicy ramen again one of these days and have that and see if I can make it through all the way. But I have eaten every single one and completed every single one otherwise. I didn't chicken out on any of the other ones. As a matter of fact, some of the ones that were mild, I brought in jalapenos from home, which are in full bloom right now, by the way. But to pick a whole bunch of them. But I brought in jalapenos and threw them in there, and it was fantastic. So if you like spicy ramen, look up the label on Amazon, Buldak. And they have it's like a cartoon chicken on the front. And yeah, the 2-time spicy is spicy. I mean, I like it. The 1-time spicy is good. The black bean is excellent. The pink one, that's cheese. That one's excellent. Yeah, it's a good group of Buldak 2-time spicy is crazy. Yes, ASMR ramen, please. So I did that. Hey, what's going on, JM? Thanks for checking in. I recognize that name. JM is a member of the BirdDog team now. What's going on, man? Good to see you. So, hey, could you recommend some intercom solutions that would work with cloud, preferably BirdDog Cloud? Just wondering. Cheers and keep it up. So BirdDog Cloud will only do the NDI stuff, right? So you'd have to convert the audio to NDI and then send that over. You can do audio only streams, but you would need to basically convert any audio intercom channel to NDI, which I think the only one that I could think of right now would be Dante. So you could convert a Dante signal to NDI with Dante Bridge and then connect that to cloud and send that across and do an audio only stream and then bring that back down. And you could either decode it back to Dante or bring it across as an NDI audio channel. That's really the only way to do it, other than we'd have to talk to BirdDog Jake about whether or not comms works across cloud. I don't think it does right now, but that would be the only way to really make that happen over NDI, like using the BirdDog fleet. So what's going on, man? It's a pleasure. Nice to meet you finally, other than just the email exchanges that we've had. We already did that. Bulldog is crazy spicy. Yes, the 2 times is very spicy. Somebody on the show, though, I think it maybe was Beep Chirp. He's like, meh. I think Beep Chirp sent us the originals. I can't remember. But he was just like, yeah, it's spicy, but not the spiciest thing I've had. So, hey, yeah, that's perfect. Yeah. We should, if the Dante to NDI to BirdDog Cloud option doesn't work, then I would definitely email Jake and see what because he's done a lot of integration stuff, and it would be good to pick his brain on, hey, what are some options here that we can use? So that might be a good way to do that. JM Lim is over in the APAC region, right? So you're helping us out over there with Jason Bach, who is a stellar individual. So yeah, it's awesome that you're around, man. Happy to have you on board. So yeah, that's what Snacks on Stream ended up becoming. And it was just a segment. It was just a gag that we were doing. So I was eating my lunch essentially on stream while answering. So the funny thing was, it was like, let's have John eat spicy food while he attempts to answer questions, NDI questions. And then it just turned into me eating ramen every week. And that got kind of heavy. So I don't do it too often anymore. And I haven't done Snacks on Stream recently. But I do drink a lot of coffee, sometimes out of an Ember mug. But I drink a lot of coffee these days. And yeah, that works pretty well. So good times, good times. All good. Yeah, comms can't do cloud yet. There we go. Okay, well, I know that that's a repeat request. So I'm sure that our friend Jan and Jake are weighing their options. That's for sure. Cool, man. Happy to have you over there in the APAC region. That's great. Really excited about that. All right, folks, let's take one more gander at the map while we're here. And just this is where everybody's checked in. We got a lot of East Coasters, West Coasters, and then a handful of folks over in Europe, a whole bunch of people in the United Kingdom and up in Scotland, and really cool. I love that this stuff works. I love that we have check-ins from basically all over. Sometimes we get a guy who's in Perth, who's on the west coast of Australia. Sometimes we have a guy that checks in Russia, in St. Petersburg. We usually always have somebody in India. Here's looking at you, GoWeb. GoWeb's in India, so if he's still with us, that's where he's looking on from. We need to check out the South. So the funny thing about this show is that it's produced in English. And I was talking to our representative in South America. He's like, the content that you do on the show is great, but it's impossible to translate for anyone in South America. And I thought, yeah, that sounds about right. That's why we don't have any check-ins in South America, because I talk really fast and you can't translate it fast enough into like Portuguese or Spanish or anything like that. So that's unfortunate. But for those of you who do come along for the ride, always a pleasure to have you live on the show. Hang out with me for an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever we end up doing. We are going to get back to, in the fall, we're going to get back to themed shows. We're going to start showing products and demonstrating things. So we're going to get back to that pretty soon. And let me know in the chat, in the comments, send us an email, whatever, if there are products that you would like to know more information about. But it's always a pleasure to see you guys check in online. Thank you so much for spending time with us today. I will wrap it up. Don't forget to join us on Tuesday, Thursdays from 11 to 12. But next week, I'm taking a hiatus, so I won't be online next week. The next show I will schedule in StreamYard today, so that when you go to my channel, you will see when I'm going to go live next, and that should be on the 15th. So be sure to hit that subscribe button on birddogjohn.tv. That is the best way to know what it is that I'm up to over here. Everything that I do in this studio is put on that channel. So everything that I produce, put on that channel. So if you want to have a direct line, faster support, you want to see the shows, I'm on here twice a week. subscribe to that show. You can hit the bell notification if you want, whatever you want to do there. If there's content on there that you like, that you want to see more of, hit the like button on those videos. You don't have to do anything else. Just hit the like button on the videos that you find useful. That's great feedback for me, and I'll start generating more stuff like that. Okay. So anytime that we can get that going, that would be great. Hey, John, when can we have a session in Spanish? I'm going to have to like subscribe to Rosetta Stone or something if you want to talk through in Spanish, because what I should do is have my friend Filippo join us, who is our South America rep, and I could just have him host a show in Spanish. That'd be cool. I don't know how comfortable he would be hosting a show, but it would be really cool to have him come on the show and do some stuff in Portuguese or in Spanish or whatever. He knows a bunch of languages. And he's Italian, I think, originally. So, or maybe not Italian. Anyways, he's a great resource, but he was like, I would love to translate your stuff, but it's just too much. Like, it's too much to translate. And I was like, fair enough. It's a little easier if you have a teleprompter to then send the text and translate it, right? But anyway, I could hook you up with an interpreter. Oh, there we go. That would be a much slower show, but maybe would be received really well in South America. It's an interesting idea. Filippo could translate for sure. What I should do, here's what I should do. I should have Filippo come to the Auburn Hills office. I will order him like a half a dozen different types of pizza because he really likes pizza. And then he could critique it as Snacks on Stream with Filippo, and we could have a conversation back and forth, and he could translate and he could provide some data. I would be completely lost though. Anyways, lots of fun ideas there, but it would be great to have Filippo on the show and then to do some stuff in Spanish so that people would feel a little bit more understood and seen in South America, because it's not something I can provide right now. So Filippo should be invited on the show sometime. I agree. That would be great. We offer simultaneous interpretation. Well, there we go. Well, giddy up. Let's go. Do you think that they could keep up with what it is that I'm bouncing around on? Because I am a jumble of words. I won't even say information, but just stuff. So hopefully they could catch up with us. Keep up with me, because, yeah, again, it's not organized. That's for sure. Okay, folks, I am going to call it. I am needing to get on with a handful of things. Like I said, I roll out tonight to go on this camping trip, and so I'll be out of the office for about a week, and I will return to this office on Friday of next week. But between now and then, there'll be a lot of driving, just like when I went down to Nashville, actually. There'll be a lot of driving and a lot of stuff going on between now and then, and I'll tell you all about it on the following Tuesday, on the 15th. So I hope that you guys have a great week. Don't go too far. Don't stray too far. Be sure that you subscribe to BirdDogJohn.tv. That is where everything that I do on this show gets put up there. And my next show will be on the 15th as a recap of my trip, but also to answer all those pending NDI questions that you don't want to send over to the help desk. No problem. We'll do it again there at that time. So hopefully you have a great week. Drive safe. Have a wonderful trip. I really appreciate that, Angus. I'm looking forward to it, as you can probably tell. And yeah, we'll talk again when I get back. Hopefully you guys have a great week. Take care of yourselves out there. It's a crazy world. Take care of yourselves and do your best to take care of each other. Super important. And we'll be back soon in a week or so to run it again. So I look forward to seeing you guys then. Take care of yourselves. Bye.
That's a problem for future Homer. Man, I don't envy that guy.